Chair and Ranking Member. Dr. Sullivan, thank you for being here today. As you know, New Hampshire's small fleet is suffering under NOAA's regulations. And in fact, on April 23rd of 2015, NOAA announced a final rule implementing the Framework Adjustment 53 to New England's Groundfish Management Plan. And ultimately, Framework 53 cut cod catch limits by 75% from 2014 levels. So 75% in 1 year. And then when I look back over the course of 5 years, the total cut is 95%. I do not know a business that could take a 95% cut and continue to operate. And as you know, this is a very important business. I mean, family business, hardworking, small fishermen who really care about not only the fishery, but also they make a very noble living. Yep. And I'm trying to understand, because the statute says that not only you look at the strength of the fishery, but you also have to look at the economic impact to those who are making their living on the water and have a strong tradition of doing so. So how do we justify that, going 75% in 1 year and then 95% over 5 years?
Cod is an absolutely iconic species in this country, and especially in your region, Senator, and we do care deeply about the fishery and about the communities that depend on it. We're gravely concerned about this stock. The assessments since 2011 show consistently it's only at about 3% of its total biomass. We're actually concerned about its capability to recover at this point. And that is the driving factor in what has driven these limits. We are obliged by law, both standards apply, but we are obliged by law to set catch limits that ensure we do not have overfishing occurring on a stock, and with a stock that's at just 3% of its biomass, that is a disastrously low number.
And here's the problem. You're also obliged by law to think about the economic impact. And thinking about this hearing on data today, I think it's so important. And in fact, the concern that I know our fishermen have is what kind of data is being used to make these dramatic cuts that, frankly, I don't know how any business could sustain, never mind these small businesses. But the Northeast Seafood Coalition, the largest representative group of ground fishermen in New England, they took an unprecedented step recently in April, filing a petition that says that they have no confidence in the stock reports in New England groundfish. And their specific focus in this letter is that we are conveying our no confidence because the latest assessments and report status of Gulf Maine cod does not remotely match what fishermen we have seen on the water over the past year. And then they outline what they have seen. And so in this letter, they call for a blue ribbon commission, and one that would engage in it not only what NOAA is doing, but really looking at GAO and the National Research Council, making sure that the underlying causes of assessment failures are accurate and we're getting the right data. So as we look at this, what is it that we can do to restructure what happens to ensure that stock assessments take all of the information into account and match what our fishermen are seeing on the water? It seems to me that this is a very important issue, and as I understand it, scientists in New England rely entirely on observer data, which is extremely costly for the results obtained. And should we look at a different model? And how can we ensure that there's more participation by those that are on the water all the time, love the water, and want to sustain the fishery, the fishermen?
A few points, Senator. First, it is not correct that the assessment relies only on observer data. It relies on our regular, the independent, repetitive, standardized surveys that I mentioned before, which creates an index of stock abundance, think Dow Jones Industrial Index. And using an index like the Dow Jones is one of the ways that we all can know something about the general health or illness of the stock market, which might at times be quite at odds with the health or illness of any given stock. So both the index and point observations can be important. So the index is important. Landings data and the biology data that I referred to in my remarks, again, some obtained by NIMS itself, some by contracts and grants with universities in the New England area, some by contracts and arrangements with fishermen in the New England area. Those are an input as well. With respect to the observations out on the water, we do respect those. With respect to cod specifically, cod are known to school in very large aggregations. And when they aggregate that way, it becomes easier to catch the fish, and that can give sometimes a false impression, sometimes a false impression.
So I don't want to interrupt you because I know my time is going, but would you object to a blue ribbon panel of scientists looking at this assessment?
We subject our assessment processes to independent review all the time and have no fear of subjecting it to independent review.
So even if it was an examination by the National Research Council and the GAO, you wouldn't object to that?
We've had them done by those bodies before.
Well, I appreciate it, and this is really important, as you know. I don't want these great businesses to go out of business, and it's a great tradition in New England. It's very important, and these fishermen and women work incredibly hard, and they're a big part of sustaining not only our tradition, but I think of appreciating local food and appreciating what we can get from the water, and so I hope that we can work on this data issue and also understand what these quotas are doing to these small fishermen. Thank you.